Well, good morning, folks. For those who are visiting us, I'm Joe. Rephrase that in case you don't know who we are. I'm Joe Wesley, the guy.
And I'm Lizzy Gabor. Nice to see everybody this morning.
Thanks you for joining us. For those who are new to us, our purpose here is how do I say this politely? To make sense of Lizzy and her business. And I still, this is what our 21st event. I still don't know what she does exactly. I know she's more than just a coach. And I don't say just a coach, I'm saying that she's much more than a coach and much more than holistic. I certainly, your skills include you're certified as a yoga instructor. You
Yes,
have a degree in psychology. You have an MSW also, I think.
yes, correct. And a certification in coaching, in success coaching.
Right. So it even makes less sense to me now than before I just began this conversation. But she has an audience. She has a group of people who really adhere to the value she can bring to them. I'm trying to make sense of it, being the left brain kind of guy that I am. So for those of you who are seeing us live, thank you very much for visiting us. If you visit us on the replay side or even the live side, remember you have to be signed in to Google to see us on YouTube and leave a comment. You can also visit us through LinkedIn and through Facebook, signed in. Please leave your comments either at this current live session or after the fact. We do audit the comments and we do try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Today's topic, and I'm going to enjoy this one. Oh, and the focus here is not talking about Einstein and what he says or doesn't, because, hey, I heard of him, but I understand what he does well, but how does that relate to me on a day to day basis, particularly being the left brain kind of person that I am? So I'm asking Lizzy, I've asked her, we don't rehearse this stuff. Let's talk about you, Lizzy, and what you provide of value to your market. And we're picking topics in a random manner and say, okay, the topic will be, and today it is, and I use her responses because I love hearing them. And it's, what is it, respond and not react is the current phrase. Am I getting that correctly?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, now sometimes Lizzy gets away from me in explanations. I wrote down questions this time to try to follow her train of thought. She's already rubbing her head in defeat here. So anyway, that being said, what's the difference between respond and react?
hmm Okay, well, let's see. Uh, well, react is you're reacting to something that happens without um, taking the time to perhaps pause and
Mm-hmm.
respond in a way that's going to have an outcome that you're going to feel better about rather than when you react out of either habitual patterns like just you scream at your kids or you scream at your husband or you just you see that mess and you just explode. So it's more of when you're I feel like reacting is when you're not in control of yourself.
Okay, so what it sounds like to me that if somebody taps my knee like a doctor will do sometimes, and my foot will kick up automatically, kick him in the head. That's not necessarily a good thing to do. But if I choose my response, I might kick my enemy over the next chair over or something. It's more of a controlled environment. If what I'm hearing that correctly.
I'll give you an example. So, my father was a dentist, and as a child, I was not the best patient. So, talk about
Okay.
kicking him when he would start to drill. I would go to kick him, and and then later now,
Now, that sounds more like a response than a reaction to it. You were anticipating deliberately what you were going to do.
it was not the response that he would have liked. And now I've come to my adulthood, and I have a dentist who actually is quite aggressive, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's for my good, that my
Mm-hmm.
teeth are going to be cleaner, and so I keep my knees down and I don't kick him. Um, and it's just honestly, it's a formula. Events plus your response equals the outcome, how you experience your life. It's just E plus R equals O. I want everybody, every one of my clients, I want everybody to know that formula.
Now,
And
Now, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people out there, that's the exact kind of talk stuff that Lizzy hits me with. So I'm going to go on to
Mm-hmm.
the next question here to get better clarity on that one.
Oh, please.
Which is more likely, react or response
I
from
think for
people?
most of us, we are often on autopilot, and we react rather than
Okay.
we respond. So
Okay.
somebody cuts us off in traffic, we curse them out.
Right.
Rather than thinking, okay, somebody cut me off in traffic, let's just let them go by so that I don't, my blood pressure doesn't rise. I don't, have all those stress hormones rushing through my body. And I just, and rather I say, okay, maybe this person has to get to the doctor, or maybe this person is late for an important meeting. And, you know, and then what ends up happening is I'm fine. And I don't have to, allow that to alter how I feel.
Well, I hear that. So that kind of goes. I have actually a total of 4 questions. So we're coming from the third one now. I'm asking. I already kind of know what she's going to say. I'm saying which is better and or more appropriate, reacting or responding. Are there any ever other? Are there ever any exceptions to one or the other?
Of course, there's definitely an exception to reacting, because if somebody is cutting you off, you need to react by putting perhaps slamming on the brakes,
Mm.
or stepping out of the way of a bus coming at you, or
Mm-hmm.
yes. So then it's you want to react in that fight or flight, in order to you want to either run, or you want
Okay.
to just jump out of the way, because that's your survival. You want to survive. So
Mm-hmm.
reacting is important if it's a matter of survival. But if it's a
Ah.
matter of, reacting to a situation or an event, or, say there's a bad storm, or, and you're stuck in traffic, and, one person could be just getting so frustrated, so upset because they're not getting to where they want to go. And they're, again, they start yelling at their kids, being not nice to their partner in the car, or whatever, whoever's around them, or just cursing out the actual event. Another person right behind them in the car, which would be how I've kind of practiced this, is okay, I'm going to listen to some music, or I'm going to listen to a book, or I'm going to have more time to, just have a conversation with the person I'm with in the car, maybe call somebody that I was thinking of. And in those two different, cars, there is
Mm-hmm.
a very different energy. There's a very different feeling. There's a very different way that whenever we do get to where we're supposed to be getting to,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to, arrive in very different manners,
Okay.
So, again, and another example is, I may have shared this before, but I've, say I get $1,000 bonus from, a job that I did, and you get $1,000 bonus, you know, your response or reaction could be, I'm going to Vegas, let's
Mm-hmm.
go,
Right. I'm going to
$1,000,
Disneyland. I get that.
or I'm going to Atlantic City, and it's gone it could potentially be gone in a very short time. Or I choose to put it into an account that's going to be making money over time, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
what's the better outcome? I mean, and again, it's your choice. If it's going to make you so happy to have that experience in Vegas, that's you choose that, and then you live with that outcome. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not like one is better. It's just it's about thinking about where is this response going to lead me to? Is it
I
going
hear
to lead
that.
me to where I want to be, or is it going to lead me to a place where it's going to be getting results that I really don't want for myself?
Okay, well, that's an interesting point, and I really won't argue that point just made. However, folks, I've set Lizzy up for this. This was a deliberate front. I've been waiting, in fact, all week just for
Ooh,
this session here. So
okay.
I have an example that I want her to respond to. I have maybe 3 or 4, but I think the one might work. So you see sometimes on YouTube now, because everything's now visual, or TikTok or whatever it may be, where there's a guy and a girl together. They've been dating for some time, and the generic scenario is that the guy invited the girlfriend to some production that his one of his guys is doing, to this and that. We're going to be part of the production sequence. He'll be asked a question at some point. So the girl is being brought there, the woman actually is being brought there with a sense of, okay, I'm going to participate in this. What it turns out to be is he proposes to her. and
Mm.
everybody's in on it. All the friends are there. The family comes out from behind the balloons and whatnot. Now, this lady can either respond or react. So if I'm reading Lizzy correctly, she's going to say if you're a responder, because that's better. Well, she's rather than say, "Oh, I love it! Oh, fantastic!" The tears coming down her face and grabs the boyfriend. Yes, of course, I'll marry you syndrome. That's reaction, folks. For those who might understand it, a response might be, "Well, let me think about this. Is there something to your motive here that I should consider before I give an answer? If I'm prepared to give an answer."
Well, no, I think that it very much depends on
Oh, I
whether
didn't hear that before.
whether
Now
she
you're
wants to
changing your
marry
story.
her. If she's like been wish and like hoping and wanting this to happen, then her response, her actual authentic response, is to be
No,
crying and jumping up and down.
I'm calling it a reaction. She's not giving it consideration. She is spontaneous. Or the high school girl who's giving a speech and her father comes home on a surprise furlough from the army and she turns around and she's not gonna first thing she's gonna do is drop the microphone and go jump in daddy's arms. That to me is a reaction, isn't it?
That's a reaction that I am all for. And I think that's a beautiful reaction because that's authentic. That is just, that's her heart being, being just ignited to seeing that person that they love. That's a beautiful, I'll still call it a response, but it is.
Oh, geez, she won't let loose of that
When
banana,
I
folks.
when I talk about reaction in the way that I think about it, and the way that I want the people that I work with to kind of think about it, is more the reactions that end with results that you don't want. Mm-hmm. So it's reacting in a negative way, that rather than if you did perhaps take a breath, and rather and then pause and then choose how you want to respond. It could lead to a much better outcome, rather than if you're just somebody says something to you and you just scream back at them, and mm-hmm. or I think I've said this before, like somebody forgets your birthday and immediately you just think, oh my, they don't love me, they must have never loved me, they don't like me, they're not my friend, and instead of, oh, maybe this person is dealing with something, and I've given you, I think I've told you the example of when my husband and I, when we were dating and he had a car accident after we had just gotten back from a vacation together. Mm-hmm. Right. He didn't call me, and I mm-hmm. I was concerned. I was like, what is going on? And it ended up that he was in the hospital. Mm-hmm. We had a bad car accident. And so, we tend to err towards thinking the negative, the worst thing about, if something is perhaps, we consider it to be, something done to us. And a lot of times it's just us letting ourselves go to that place, because we tend to go to the negative.
I hear that. And you just made a point I was going to come back on. To me, the difference is, I'll call it mindset. This is what I'm hearing. And if one does not have and I call it a strategic mindset, I'll even be more complete in my understanding, mm-hmm. that if one has a strategic mindset, that you can't anticipate things come up to moment. Things will grab you by surprise. Yes. And whether your loved one is coming home from the armed services unexpectedly, or you're getting proposed to, or you pull the lever, or you, I guess now, push the button at the gambling places and you win the $1 million prize, those likely are things that will cause a reaction. And so there can be good reactions. That's kind of what I'm thinking about it, without having to change the definition. But mm-hmm. if one does not have a mindset that's not caught up or lost in moment-to-moment episodes, then you're not likely or less likely to get caught in a manner that you're being manipulated, perhaps, or you're doing more damage than perhaps value to yourself. And that's, so to me, it's more the concept. So I get the reaction, I get the response, but I think there's a gray zone, and the key definition of separation is your mindset. Are you going to be healthy about how things are going to be? Are you going to be more inclined not to get lost in the moment because you have a certain mindset that is more appropriate for your value, your needs? Is that making sense, what I'm saying or asking?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the fact that you're saying it's strategic, I mean, it's really, if you, if you want, I bring up the example of like, so I say I come home, my husband's in a bad mood, and I immediately I'm like, oh, you had a bad day. You should just heard about my day. Rather strategically, I'm like, tell me about it, honey. Just tell. And like within minutes, it's like a superpower. You're just
Mm-hmm.
like everything is. They feel good. You feel good. So if you're in a workplace, if a boss, wants to ask something of an employee, do it in a way that makes them feel valued. Do it in a way that makes, not just like you go better go do this because, so there is strategic planning in that, and it's rewarding, and it's about taking a look at how you respond, and exploring new responses if you're not getting the outcomes that make you feel good and are happy and the results that you want.
I hear that, and one more. And we're pushing our time to 15 minutes, but we allowances. Reminds me of a time I was in my office, and I had a fairly new secretary, and I got a paper cut. In an office. I'm a physician ophthalmologist in my prior life, I call it. So a doctor's office. And anyway, I had gotten a paper cut. So I asked my then secretary, do we have any alcohol? Because without thinking, I said a little bit of blood, there's a little bit of whatever, redness. And all of a sudden, she began in a really compulsive manner opening up all the drawers of all the cabinets all over the place. I'm saying, what is she doing? And then I began laughing. Says, no, I'm not asking for alcohol to drink. I'm asking for alcohol to put on my finger. So she was reacting based on her history, her style.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a response to my need of the moment of value. So I can see that being a difference of concept.
That's very, very, that cracks me up. It made me think of when your kid falls and cuts their knee, and like there's one parent who goes, freaks out. The kid gets more and more worked up, or the one who says, oh my God, that must have hurt. Let's clean it up. Let's get you a drink out of the cabinet. Joe, I'm just kidding.
I hear that. That works. Again, so it's the strategic mindset. We're back to that again. I think since we're over curfew, we'll finish. It was a good one, Lizzy. I really enjoyed this one. Thank you
Me
very much.
too.
And audience, please share your comments, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.
Take care, everybody.